As a man once walked through a dense forest. The winds were strong, the rain was pouring, and he clung to the branch of a tree, holding on as tightly as he could. He thought, if I let go, I will be lost. If I let go, I will fall. He had put all his faith in that one branch, believing it was the only thing keeping him safe. But then, in the fury of the storm, the branch snapped. For a moment, panic filled his heart. He was falling. His worst fear had come true. But just before he hit the ground, he spread his arms, and suddenly he realized he could fly. This is how most people live their lives. They hold on to things, their jobs, relationships, money, routines, thinking that these are the branches keeping them safe. They believe that if these things break, they will fall, and everything will be over. But what they fail to see is that they were never meant to cling. They were meant to soar. God is not the branch that you hold on to, fearing for your life. He is the wings you never realized you had. Look at a baby bird. When it is time for it to fly, the mother does something that seems cruel. She pushes it out of the nest. The little bird, for the first time, feels terror. It flaps its tiny wings desperately, thinking it is about to crash. But within moments, something incredible happens. It realizes that it was never meant to fall. It was built to fly. The very thing it feared being pushed was actually the beginning of its freedom. How many times in life do we feel like we are being pushed? A relationship ends. A job is lost, a plan fails, and we cry out, why is this happening to me? But maybe, just maybe, you are not being abandoned. Maybe you are being set free. Think about all the things you have lost in life, the moments where you thought, I will never recover from this. But did you? Look back at those times. Didn't they lead you to something new, something greater, something you never expected? You see, people put up their faith in the wrong things. They think their security comes from their salary, their status, their relationships, their possessions. These are just branches, and branches can break. A man once lost his job and he thought his life was over. He had spent years climbing the corporate ladder only to find himself thrown out just like that. For months he was lost in despair, thinking that everything had been taken from him. But one day, when he finally stopped panicking, he asked himself, what now? And for the first time in years, he listened to his heart. He started a small business, something he had always dreamed of but never had the courage to do. Years later, he looked back and laughed. That job loss, what once seemed like his greatest disaster, had actually been his greatest blessing. That is how life works. The moment you stop fearing the fall, you realize you can fly. Look at the trees in a storm. The ones that are rigid, that refuse to bend, are the first to break. But the ones that sway, that dance with the wind, they survive. Life is not about holding on to what you know. It is about trusting that when the time comes, something greater will carry you forward. There was a woman who had spent years in an unhappy marriage, afraid to leave because she thought she couldn't survive alone. The relationship was her branch. Even though it was weak, even though it no longer held her up, she clung to it in fear. But then life took the decision from her. Her husband left. At first she was devastated, lost in pain and uncertainty. But slowly she started discovering a strength she never knew she had. She learned new skills, she built a life for herself, and one day she woke up and realized she was no longer afraid. When you trust in something greater than yourself, you stop clinging, you stop fearing change. You stop looking at every loss as a disaster and start seeing it as a doorway. Have you ever seen an eagle? It does not flap its wings endlessly like small birds do. It waits for the wind to rise. And when the time is right, it spreads its wings and soars effortlessly. It does not fight the wind, it rides it. That is the difference between struggle and surrender. Struggle is when you think everything depends on you. Surrender is when you realize something bigger is holding you. So the next time life shakes you, the next time the branch you are holding on to breaks, do not panic. Do not think you are falling. Trust. Open your wings. God is not the branch. God is the wind beneath your wings. You were never meant to cling. You were meant to fly. A man was once caught in a terrible storm. The sky was dark, the wind howled, and the rain poured down with fury. He ran desperately, looking for shelter, afraid that the storm would destroy everything around him. But then he saw an old monk sitting calmly under a tree, completely unshaken. The man was confused. How can you be so peaceful in this terrible storm? He asked. The monk smiled and said, the real storm is not out here. It is inside you. At first the man did not understand, but as he stood there, drenched in rain, something clicked. He realized that while the storm outside was fierce, it was temporary. It would pass. But the storm inside, the storm of fear, panic, and helplessness was far stronger. And if he did not learn how to calm it, no amount of running would ever save him. This is how most people live their lives. They think their problems are outside people, situations, circumstances. They believe that if only they could fix the world around them, they would finally find peace. But have you ever noticed A person who is restless inside will always find something to complain about, no matter how perfect their surroundings are. And a person who is peaceful inside can walk through chaos without losing themselves. Look at two people stuck in traffic. One is furious, honking, shouting, stressing. The other is listening to music, smiling, completely relaxed. The situation is the same, the storm outside is identical, but their reactions are completely different. Why? Because one is fighting an external storm and the other has already won the battle inside. Think about the last time you were angry, truly angry. Maybe someone said something hurtful or something didn't go as planned. At that moment, it felt like the whole world was against you. But if you look deeper, was the problem really outside? Or was the real struggle within? The words people say, the situations that arise, these are just triggers. The real storm is the way we respond. You see, storms will always come. There will always be problems, disappointments, and unexpected turns in life. But if you do not know how to handle the storm inside, even the smallest challenge will shake you. A person who is at war with themselves will always feel like the world is against them. A woman once lost her job. She sat at home drowning in anxiety, thinking, how will I survive? Why did this happen to me? Days turned into weeks and her mind became her worst enemy. She was stuck, not because of the job loss, but because of the fear inside her. Another man lost his job the same day, but instead of collapsing, he took a deep breath and said, all right, what's next? He started learning new skills, he looked for new opportunities, and in a few months he had a better job than before. Same storm, different outcome. Because while the first person drowned in their internal storm, the second person mastered it. A ship does not sink because of the water around it, it sinks because the water gets inside. Life will always have difficulties, but if you let those difficulties enter your mind, your heart, your spirit, they will destroy you. The storm outside can only harm you if you allow it inside. Look at nature. When a storm comes, the ocean does not fight it. It moves with it. But deep under the surface, the ocean remains still. That is how life should be. On the surface, there may be waves, turbulence, and chaos, but deep within, there must be stillness. There was once a king who asked the greatest artist in his land to paint a picture of peace. Many came forward with beautiful landscapes, calm lakes, quiet forests, golden sunsets. But the king was not satisfied. Then he saw a painting that seemed strange. It was of a violent storm, thunder crashing, waves roaring. And yet, in the middle of it, there was a small rock, and on that rock a bird sat, completely calm, singing softly. The king smiled. This, he said, is true peace, not the absence of storms, but calmness within them. You see, most people are waiting for life to be perfect before they can be happy. They think, once I have enough money, once people treat me better, once everything is stable, then I will be at peace. But life does not work that way. The outside world will never be completely under your control. If your peace depends on external situations, you will always be at the mercy of something else. So how do you calm the storm inside? First, recognize that most of your suffering is not coming from the world, it is coming from your own mind. Your thoughts, your fears, your overthinking. The moment you see this, you take back your power. Second, learn to pause. The next time something upsets you, do not react immediately. Take a breath, close your eyes, give yourself space. Most storms pass if you do not feed them. Third, shift your focus into thinking about what is wrong. Start looking at what is right. Gratitude is the fastest way to calm an inner storm. Finally, understand that you are stronger than anything life throws at you. No storm lasts forever. No darkness is permanent. The world outside may be uncertain, but if you master your inner world, nothing can shake you. Because the real storm is never outside. It is always inside. And the moment you conquer it, you become unstoppable. A man was once sailing across the ocean when a terrible storm arose. The waves grew monstrous, the sky darkened, and the winds roared. In panic, he dropped to his knees and cried out, God, save me. But nothing happened. The storm raged on. Feeling abandoned, he grew angry. Why aren't you helping me? He shouted. But then, as he looked around, he noticed something. His hands were still strong, his boat was still afloat, and his mind, though fearful, was still capable of thinking clearly. At that moment, something shifted inside him. He realized that God was not the one who would stop the storm for him. God was the strength within him to steer through it. Most people think of God as a rescue service, someone they call only when things go wrong. When life is smooth, they do not ask. When money is flowing, when health is strong, when relationships are stable, they hardly think of him. But the moment trouble arrives, suddenly they turn to God expecting an instant solution. They want God to be an escape plan, a quick fix for their suffering, a magical way out. But God is not an escape. God is the power that helps you endure, the strength that keeps you standing when everything around you is falling apart. Imagine a student who never studies, never attends classes, and then on the night before an exam prays God, please help me pass. Does this make sense? If God worked that way, nobody would need to prepare for anything. But life does not function on shortcuts. A farmer cannot plant seeds today and pray for a harvest tomorrow. Growth takes time, and so does strength. God does not remove struggles. He gives you the ability to overcome them. There was once a man who lost everything, his job, his savings, even his home. He sat on the streets, broken, feeling abandoned by life. In his pain, he called out, "God, why have you left me?" Days passed. Nothing changed. Then one morning, an old man sat next to him and shared his food. That moment reminded him of something. He was still alive. His hands were still strong, his legs could still move, and his mind was still capable of thinking. Instead of waiting for a miracle, he decided to act. He started working in a small shop, saved money, and rebuilt his life. Years later, when he looked back, he realized something: God had never abandoned him. God was in his resilience, in the kindness of the stranger, in his own ability to rise again. You see, people expect divine intervention to come in grand, supernatural ways. They think God will part the seas for them, move mountains, or change reality in an instant. But God works in subtle, yet powerful ways through your strength, your courage, your wisdom, and the people around you. He does not remove obstacles. He makes you capable of facing them. Think of a child learning to walk. At first they stumble, they fall, they cry, but the mother does not carry them everywhere forever. She encourages them, lets them try, because she knows that if they never struggle, they will never grow. In the same way, life does not become easier because God removes hardships. Life becomes easier when you realize that God has already given you everything you need to face them. Look at a seed. It does not grow into a tree overnight. It must push through the soil, endure the pressure of the earth above it, and struggle towards the light. If the seed had a voice, it might say, "Why is this so difficult? Why is everything against me?" But the very struggle that seems unbearable is what makes it strong enough to stand tall as a tree one day. The same is true for you. Every hardship, every struggle, every pain is not proof that God has abandoned you. It is proof that He believes in your strength. God does not just save people, He empowers them. A runner does not become stronger by avoiding hills, but by running through them. A warrior is not made in comfort, but in battle. A person's true power is not revealed in moments of ease, but in moments of adversity. If life was always smooth, you would never know how strong you are. A woman once lost her husband unexpectedly. She had 2 young children and no idea how she would survive. At first, she prayed for God to change her reality, to take away her pain. But days passed and nothing changed. Then she shifted her focus. Instead of asking God to fix everything for her, she asked for the strength to move forward. Slowly, she began rebuilding her life. She worked hard, raised her children with love. And one day, as she watched them grow into strong, successful adults, she realized God had been there all along. Not as an escape, but as the strength within her that carried her through. So the next time you face a storm, do not ask for an escape. Ask for strength. Do not ask for an easy road. Ask for the courage to walk the difficult one. Do not ask for life to remove the struggles. Ask for the wisdom to overcome them. Because God is not a shortcut. God is the power within you. And when you realize this, no storm can ever break you. As it says, as a young man once stood before an old blacksmith, watching as he placed a rough piece of iron into the fire. The flames roared, turning the metal red hot. Then, with force and precision, the blacksmith struck it with his hammer again and again. Sparks flew in every direction. The young man winced at the sight. "Why do you punish the metal like this?" he asked. The blacksmith smiled. "I am not punishing it," he said. "I am shaping it. This fire and these strikes will not destroy the iron. They will reveal its true strength, its true form. Life is no different. Storms do not come to destroy you, they come to reveal you. They do not appear to break you, but to show you what you are truly made of. Everyone wishes for an easy life, a smooth journey, days filled with nothing but comfort. But have you ever noticed? The strongest people, the wisest souls, the ones who inspire others, they are never the ones who had an easy road. They are the ones who walk through fire-faced storms and emerge stronger. Think of a tree standing tall in a forest. If it has never faced strong winds, if it has never had to dig its roots deep into the earth, it remains weak. But the tree that has battled storms, that has swayed with the wind and still stood firm, that tree becomes unshakable. Look at the greatest minds, the greatest leaders, the greatest human beings in history. None of them became who they are by living in comfort. They were tested. They faced trials that could have broken them, but instead, those trials revealed their true strength. A caterpillar may think the darkness of the cocoon is its end, but that darkness is where transformation happens. Without the struggle of breaking free, it would never develop the strength to fly. If you cut open a cocoon too early, the butterfly will never have strong enough wings to survive. It is the same with human beings. We grow the most not when life is easy, but when we are challenged. When everything is taken away, when plans fall apart, when life pushes us into uncertainty, this is when we discover who we really are. A woman once faced complete failure. She had lost her job, her savings, and even her confidence. She sat in despair, thinking she had reached her end, but in that stillness, she asked herself, what now? And for the first time, she looked within. She started learning, adapting, discovering strengths she never knew she had. Years later, she was more successful than ever. And when people asked how she did it, she said, I did not find my strength when life was easy. I found it when life tested me. Look at gold. In its raw form, it looks like any ordinary rock. But when it is placed in the fire, when the heat is intense, something incredible happens. The impurities burn away, and pure gold remains. This is why hardships exist, not to punish you, but to refine you, to strip away the fear, the doubt, the weakness, and leave behind the strongest, purest version of yourself. A young boy once tried to lift a heavy stone. He struggled, his arms shook, his legs trembled, but he kept trying. An old man watching nearby asked, are you using all your strength? The boy sighed, yes, I am. The old man smiled and said, no, you are not. You have not yet asked for help. Sometimes storms reveal not only our strength, but also our need for others. They teach us humility, the power of leaning on others, the wisdom of knowing when to ask for support. Imagine a potter shaping clay. If the clay could feel, it might think, why is this happening to me? Why am I being pressed, stretched, and spun? But the potter knows that without this process, the clay will never become a beautiful vessel. Likewise, life shapes us through storms. When the winds are strong, they teach us resilience. When the rain is heavy, it washes away what no longer serves us. And when the skies are dark, they force us to find our inner light. A storm does not come to end you. It comes to transform you. It comes to test your roots, to show you how deep your foundation truly is. So the next time life shakes you, the next time you feel lost in a storm, remember this is not the end of you. This is the making of you. Because storms are not here to destroy you. They are here to reveal you. A man once stood at the edge of a dense forest at night. The path ahead was shrouded in darkness, and he could see nothing beyond a few steps. He hesitated, fear gripping him. What if I step into danger? What if something is lurking in the shadows? His mind raced with worst-case scenarios. He was paralyzed. Just then, an old traveler appeared beside him, holding a lantern. Why do you hesitate? The traveler asked. I cannot see the way ahead, the man replied. The traveler smiled. Ah, but can you see your next step? The man looked down. The lantern's glow illuminated the ground right in front of him. Yes, I can. Then take that step, the traveler said. Faith is not about seeing the whole path. It is about trusting that as you move forward, the way will become clear. This is what faith truly is. It is not blind. It does not ignore reality. It does not pretend that challenges do not exist. Faith sees the obstacles, the difficulties, the risk, but still chooses to move forward. Fear, on the other hand, is the one that is truly blind. Fear imagines dangers that are not there. Fear creates illusions, paralyzes the mind, and keeps people stuck in the same place. Have you ever noticed when fear takes over, your mind starts spinning endless stories? You start believing in things that haven't even happened yet. You fear failure before you have even tried. You assume rejection before you have even spoken. Fear keeps you standing at the edge, afraid to step forward, afraid to trust that the road will reveal itself. A child learning to swim clings to the edge of the pool. He cries, afraid that if he lets go, he will drown. But his father stands a few feet away, arms open. Come, he says, I will catch you. The child hesitates. Fear tells him that he will sink. Faith tells him that he is not alone. When he finally lets go, he realizes something amazing. The water holds him up, and his father is right there. This is how life works. Fear tells you that you are alone, that you will fail, that you are not strong enough. But faith is the quiet voice that says you will not sink. You are being held. Imagine two people facing the same challenge. One is frozen by fear, seeing only disaster. The other moves forward with faith, trusting that even if things go wrong, they will find a way through. The fearful one sees only darkness. The faithful one sees possibility. Same situation, two completely different experiences. There was once a farmer who planted seeds in his field. Another man laughed at him. Why are you wasting time? What if there is no rain? What if the soil is bad? What if nothing grows? The farmer simply smiled and said, and what if it does? Faith is not wishful thinking. It is not ignoring reality. It is understanding that while there are risks, there are also possibilities. While there are obstacles, there are also solutions. While there are storms, the sun always returns. A mountain climber does not see the entire journey before he begins. If he waits for perfect clarity, he will never take the first step. But he trusts his ability, he trusts his preparation, and he trusts that as he climbs, each step will take him closer to the top. The same applies to every great achievement in life. People who build businesses, pursue dreams, or overcome struggles do not do so because they are foolish. They do it because they see beyond their fear. They know that doubt will always exist, but they refuse to let it control them. Think of a blindfolded person walking. If fear guides them, they will panic, assume danger at every turn, and hesitate with every step. But if faith guides them, they will trust that they can navigate, trust that their senses will adjust, trust that with patience they will reach their destination. Fear is what blinds people. It blinds them to their own strength, to their own potential, to the opportunities that exist. Fear locks people in a cage of their own making. Faith, on the other hand, is what gives sight. It does not remove all difficulties, but it gives the courage to face them. It does not eliminate darkness, but it provides the light to take the next step. A bird sitting on a branch does not fear the branch breaking. Why? Because its trust is not in the branch, it is in its wings. That is faith. It does not mean believing that everything will be easy. It means believing that even if things go wrong, you will rise again. So the next time fear whispers in your ear, telling you to stay where you are, telling you that you cannot, telling you that the worst will happen, pause. Take a deep breath. And ask yourself, what if something beautiful happens instead? Because fear is blind. Faith is what lets you see a river does not question where it is flowing. It does not resist the rocks, nor does it fight the curves in its path. It simply moves forward, trusting that it will eventually meet the ocean. This is the intelligence of life, a force greater than our understanding, always guiding us, always flowing in the right direction. Yet as human beings, we resist. We want to control every detail, predict every turn, demand that life follows our plans. But have you noticed? Some of the most beautiful things in life happen not because we forced them, but because we allowed them. Think of the greatest moments of your life. Did they come exactly as you planned? Or did they arrive in unexpected ways through paths you never saw coming? Maybe you lost something only to realize later that it was making space for something better. Maybe you met someone by accident, but that meeting changed your life forever. Maybe a failure led you to a success you never imagined. Life is not random. It has an intelligence far beyond our understanding. Imagine a seed buried in the soil. From the outside, it looks lifeless, but deep within, something is happening. It does not know how to grow. It does not have a blueprint in its tiny mind, yet it trusts the intelligence of life. It pushes through the darkness, breaks open, reaches toward the light, and in time it becomes a tree. If the seed could think like a human, it might panic. It might say, why is everything dark? Why am I buried under all this soil? Maybe I am doomed. But nature does not work that way. What seems like darkness is actually the beginning of growth. In the same way, your struggles are not proof that life is against you. They are proof that life is shaping you. A caterpillar might believe that entering the cocoon is the end of everything. It might think, I am trapped. My world is gone. But inside that cocoon, a miracle is happening. The very thing it fears is the process that will give it wings. How often do we resist life's cocoon? How often do we fight the very process that is meant to transform us? A man once lost his job. He was devastated, thinking his life had fallen apart. He spent weeks drowning in fear and anger. But in that stillness, he started to explore something new, his passion for writing. He had never thought of it as a career before, but now, with nothing to lose, he gave it a try. Years later, he was a successful author, traveling the world, doing what he loved. Looking back, he realized the job loss was not his destruction. It was his redirection. This is the intelligence of life. It does not operate by our limited human logic. It sees a bigger picture, a grander design that we cannot yet comprehend. Have you ever stood in front of the ocean watching the waves rise and fall? The tides come in, the tides go out without hesitation, without resistance. There is a rhythm to it, a balance. And yet when life shifts, when something changes unexpectedly, we panic. We forget that life has always been moving in harmony, even when we do not understand it. A bird does not ask, where will my next meal come from? It wakes up, sings its song, and trusts that life will provide. A tree does not stress about the rain. It simply stands tall, open, ready to receive when the time is right. But as humans, we have filled our minds with so much doubt, so much fear, that we forget we too are part of the same intelligence. Everything in nature knows how to be. The sun rises without a reminder. The flowers bloom without anxiety. The seasons change without hesitation, but we, with our endless overthinking, try to control what is beyond us. Let go. Trust that life knows what it is doing. When a mother carries a child, she does not sit there trying to control how the baby forms. She does not dictate how the bones grow, how the heart beats, how the fingers take shape. She simply trusts the intelligence of life, and miraculously, without her interference, a new life is created. So why do we not trust this same intelligence in other areas of our lives? The next time something does not go according to plan, ask yourself, what if this is happening for me, not to me? What if that delay saved you from disaster? What if that rejection redirected you to something better? What if your struggles today are building the strength you will need tomorrow? When you stop fighting life, when you stop demanding that everything happen exactly the way you want, you make space for something greater. A traveler walking through the mountains does not know what lies beyond the next peak. But if he stops out of fear, he will never see the breathtaking view ahead. Likewise, if you only trust what you can see, you will limit yourself to what you already know. But if you trust life, truly trust it, you open yourself to possibilities beyond imagination. So breathe. Let go of the need to control every outcome. Stop resisting the unknown. Life has an intelligence far greater than yours. Trust it. As a man was walking through a dense forest when a sudden storm hit, the wind howled, the rain poured, and within moments he was drenched. He looked up at the sky and shouted, "Why me?" But the storm did not stop. It did not answer his question. It simply continued. Frustrated, he stood there shivering and miserable, refusing to move forward. But then he saw something strange just a few steps ahead. Another traveler was walking through the same storm. This traveler did not curse the rain, did not stand still. He simply pulled his coat tighter, adjusted his path, and kept moving. The first man called out, "Aren't you upset? Why don't you stop?" The traveler smiled and replied, "What difference does it make? The storm is here. My only question is what next?" This is the difference between two kinds of people in life. Those who ask, "Why me?" and stay stuck, and those who ask what next and keep moving. We have all faced moments of pain, moments of disappointment, moments where life does not go the way we expect it. And in those moments, the most natural question that comes to mind is, why me? Why did I lose my job? Why did that relationship fail? Why did this happen to my family? Why is life so unfair? It is a tempting question because it makes us feel like victims. It gives us a reason to stop, to complain, to blame the world. But have you noticed, this question never gives an answer. Life does not stop to explain itself. It simply moves forward with or without us. A man once sat in his home, devastated after losing everything in a business failure. Day after day, he repeated, "Why me?" But then one morning, he looked in the mirror and realized he had spent months asking the same question, and it had given him nothing but misery. So he took a deep breath and asked something different. What next? And in that moment, everything changed. Instead of drowning in self-pity, he started searching for opportunities. Instead of focusing on what was lost, he focused on what could be built. That single shift from why me to what next was the turning point. Years later, he had rebuilt his success in a way he never imagined possible. Life will not always go according to pure plan, but when things fall apart, you have a choice. You can sit in your sorrow, asking a question that leads nowhere, or you can stand up, take a deep breath, and ask what next. A student fails an important exam. He can spend days, weeks, even months crying, complaining, blaming the teacher, blaming the system. Or he can pause and ask what next. Should he study differently? Should he seek guidance? Should he try again? A person faces a heartbreak. They can spend years saying, "Why did this happen to me?" and remain stuck in the past. Or they can say, "What next? What can I learn from this? How can I heal? How can I grow?" There was once a king who had a trusted advisor. One day, while hunting, the king injured his finger. Furious, he complained about his bad luck. But his advisor simply said, "Everything happens for a reason." The king became angry and threw the advisor into prison. Later, while hunting alone, the king was captured by a tribe that sacrificed humans. Just as they were about to offer him to their gods, they noticed his injured finger. They only sacrificed people who were whole, so they let him go. The king returned to his palace, realizing his advisor had been right. He immediately freed him and said, "I understand now that losing my finger saved my life. But tell me, how was it fair that you were thrown in prison?" The advisor smiled and said, "If I had not been in prison, I would have been with you on that hunt. And since I have no injury, they would have sacrificed me instead." Life has a strange way of unfolding. Sometimes the very things we curse as tragedies turn out to be our greatest blessings. But we will never see those blessings if we are stuck in why me. Look at nature. A tree does not cry when its leaves fall. It does not ask, "Why did the seasons change?" It simply prepares for the next season. A river does not stop flowing when it meets an obstacle. It does not say, "Why is this rock in my way?" It simply finds a new path. The most successful, happiest, and most resilient people are not those who avoid difficulties. They are the ones who, when life knocks them down, do not waste time asking, why me? Instead, they ask, what next? Because why me focuses on the past. What next focuses on the future. One keeps you stuck. The other moves you forward. So the next time life tests you, take a deep breath. Instead of complaining, instead of waiting for an explanation that will never come, stand up and ask, what next? Because no matter what has happened, no matter how dark things may seem, the answer to that one question can change everything. A man was once caught in a strong river current. The water was rough, and in his panic, he began to struggle. He flailed his arms, kicked against the waves, and tried desperately to fight the flow. But the harder he fought, the weaker he became. The river was too strong. It did not care about his resistance. It simply carried him forward. Just when he thought he would drown, he heard a voice from the shore. An old fisherman called out, stop fighting. Trust the river. Let it carry you, and it will take you to safety. The man had a choice: keep resisting and exhaust himself, or surrender to the current. With his last bit of strength, he chose to let go. And something incredible happened. The moment he stopped struggling, he realized the river was not his enemy. It carried him gently to the shore, right where he needed to be. This is life. We struggle, we resist, we try to control everything. But life, like the river, has a current of its own. The more we fight against it, the more exhausted we become. The more we try to control every detail, the more frustrated we feel. But when we learn to surrender, we begin to flow with life instead of against it. Many people misunderstand surrender. They think it means giving up, being passive, or accepting defeat. But true surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the deep understanding that there is a greater plan unfolding, one that is beyond our limited human vision. Think of a seed planted in the soil. If the seed had a mind like ours, it might panic. It might say, why is it so dark? Why am I buried? What if I never grow? But the seed does not resist. It does not demand immediate results. It surrenders to the process, trusting that in time, the sun and rain will nurture it, and it will become a mighty tree. Now think about how we live our lives. We want certainty. We want guarantees. We want everything to happen exactly as we planned. But life does not work that way. Life has its own timing, its own rhythm, its own intelligence. And when we try to control everything, we create our own suffering. A man once lost his job and he was devastated. He kept asking, why did this happen? What if I never find another opportunity? How will I survive? He spent weeks in anxiety trying to force doors open. Nothing worked. But one day, exhausted and out of options, he simply let go. He decided, maybe life is guiding me somewhere else. I will trust the process. The moment he stopped trying to control everything, something shifted. He stumbled upon an opportunity he never expected, one that was far better than the job he lost. Looking back, he realized that losing his job was not the end, it was the redirection he needed. This is the beauty of surrender. It does not mean sitting and waiting for miracles to happen. It means doing your best, but then trusting that life will take care of the rest. A farmer does not stand in his field shouting at the crops to grow faster. He does his part, he plants the seeds, waters the soil, but then he trusts nature to do its work. He knows that no amount of worry will make the sun rise earlier or the rain fall sooner. In the same way, we must learn to trust the timing of our own lives. How many times have we held on too tightly to something only to suffer? We hold on to relationships that no longer serve us. We hold on to old dreams, refusing to see new opportunities. We hold on to fears, doubts, and the illusion of control. But the tighter we grip, the more painful it becomes. A monkey trap is a simple device used in some cultures. A small hole is cut in a container, just big enough for a monkey's hand to fit through. Inside, a piece of fruit is placed. The monkey reaches in, grabs the fruit, but now its fist is too big to pull out. The only way to be free is to let go of the fruit. But in its greed and stubbornness, the monkey holds on, trapping itself. Are we not the same? We hold on to our plans, our expectations, our need for control, and in doing so, we trap ourselves. Surrender does not mean you stop trying. It means you stop forcing. It means you stop thinking that everything must happen on your terms. It means you stop believing that you know better than life itself. A surfer does not fight the ocean waves. He does not demand that the sea be calm. Instead, he learns to ride the waves. He flows with the rhythm of the water. He understands that his power comes not from controlling the ocean, but from aligning himself with it. This is how life is meant to be lived. Instead of saying, I must control everything, say, I will do my best and trust the rest. Instead of saying, this must happen exactly as I planned, say, I trust